When looking at the issue of providing fall protection for employees, the task can be a difficult one. This is especially true when one considers that there are different categories of work situations and just as many types of fall hazards. With this in mind, it would be impossible to place fall protection in just one category with just one set of rules that would apply to all fall hazard scenarios. To address this issue, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, known as OSHA, organizes its requirements so they address fall protection in several different subparts. These subparts are based on the nature of the work being done. To illustrate this point, the fall protection rules for work done on stairways and ladders would be different from work done on scaffolds or a steel erection. Each requires a different type of fall protection rule because each presents a different set of hazards. Most fall deaths occur when employees fall through openings in the floor or open-sided floors. These falls happen from as little as 4 to 6 feet and can cause serious lost-time accidents that lead to serious injury and even death. This course will cover the work conditions that require the use of fall protection and available options to protect employees from falls. At the conclusion of this fall protection course, you will be able to identify fall protection methods available for protecting employees and the basic conditions that trigger the use of fall protection for employees in the general industry. We'll also look at the importance of good work practices and training. Let's get started. There are many types of fall protection options for an employer to consider when presented with a project. It is always the employer's responsibility to supply all necessary safety equipment to employees. The employer must also train employees about the proper use of all safety equipment and educate them about the types of personal protective equipment, or PPE, that are required on a specific site. OSHA requires that fall protection be provided if an employee can fall 4 to 6 feet onto a lower level. In situations where fall protection hazards exist, guardrail systems, safety net systems, or personal fall arrest systems must be used. In some instances, fences, barricades, covers, equipment guards, or controlled access zones may be used. Keep in mind that all employees must be protected from more than just falling off various surfaces. They must also be protected from falling through holes and from having objects fall on them from above. As we mentioned before, it is the responsibility of the employer to ensure the safety of the employee by providing the proper PPE equipment and training on how to use the equipment on the job. There are times when employers will have to make use of a variety of fall protection systems to protect their employees from injury or death. These systems must meet OSHA standards before they are used. In order to ensure the proper level of safety, a safety manager or consultant must frequently and regularly inspect the site to make certain that all systems meet OSHA standards. Employees must not be allowed to work on a site until safety training has been done. Inspections have been carried out and safety requirements are met. Employers who can show that it is not feasible to use typical fall protection equipment or that this equipment may cause a greater hazard must develop a fall protection plan. The fall protection plan must identify other methods and measures to apply in order to reduce or eliminate fall hazards for employees on a given site. These fall protection plans must be prepared by a qualified person and meet OSHA standards. Although fall protection is a requirement, it does not have to be written, nor does it have to be site specific. Fall protection plans do, however, have to identify the locations where conventional fall protection methods are not able to be used and set up areas known as controlled access zones, along with any needed monitoring systems. Employees must expect fall protection be provided at any worksite where there are fall hazards. More specifically, fall protection must be provided whenever an employee is on a walking or working surface that has an unprotected edge, whenever an employee may fall through a hole in a walking or working surface, anytime an employee is working on the face of formwork or reinforcing steel, when employees are on ramps, runways, and other walkways, when employees are working at the edge of an excavation, well, pit, or shaft, anytime employees are working above dangerous equipment, even for employees working less than 6 feet over dangerous equipment, when an employee is performing overhand bricklaying and related work, and when an employee is performing roofing work. Guardrail systems are an engineering control designed to act as a barrier to protect the employee from falling. Guardrail systems function in this way. The top edge of the guardrail has to be 39 to 45 inches above the walking or working level. In addition, there must be protection in place to keep employees from possibly falling between the top rail and the walking or working surface. Alternative means of safety guardrail types include mid-rails, screens, mesh, or intermediate vertical members. The protective barriers must be strong enough to support a 200-pound lateral force. Wood, chain, and wire rope may be used for top rails and mid-rails as well. There are very specific requirements that must be followed for the installation of each of these. These requirements can be found in the OSHA standards for fall protection. A personal fall arrest system, or PFAS, places the employee in a body harness fastened to a secure anchoring point. This prevents the employee from falling and injuring him or herself. Body belts are not acceptable for use as PFAS. There are some basic requirements for the PFAS. First, the free fall should not exceed 4 feet. After a fall, there should be provisions for a very quick rescue. In addition, every PFAS must be inspected before each use. No PFAS may be used until it has been inspected by a competent person. Finally, a PFAS must never be used once damaged. Now, let's take a look at safety net systems. Safety net systems catch employees if they do fall. Safety nets have to be strong enough to hold a falling employee. The mesh openings must be sufficiently small so that the employee will not fall through the net. The mesh openings must be close enough to the walking and working surface so that the employee's fall into the safety net will not still injure the employee. Nets must never be more than 30 feet below the walking and working level. Finally, the safety net must be close enough to the edge of the working surface to ensure that the falling employee will not fall past the net. The outer edge of the net should be between 8 to 13 feet from the edge of the walking or working surface, depending on the distance to the walking or working surface. Now, let's see how much you retained so far. At what height can a fall cause serious injury or even death? A, 2 to 3 feet, B, 4 to 6 feet, C, 7 to 8 feet, or D, 9 feet or higher. The correct answer is B, 4 to 6 feet. Most fall deaths occur when employees fall through openings in the floor or open-sided floors. These falls happen from as little as 4 to 6 feet and can cause serious, lost-time accidents that lead to serious injury and even death. In situations where employees could fall 4 feet or more, ramps, runways, and other walkways must be protected by guardrail systems. Remember that the walking or working surface must be strong enough to safely support the weight of the employees. If the surfaces are not strong enough to support this, then no one should be allowed to work on the surfaces. The employer's designated competent persons must conduct frequent and regular inspections to identify situations where potential fall-through hazards exist. In the case of scaffolding, it is important to note that In the case of scaffolding, it is important to note that employees must be working with a PFAS when working on framework or rebar, and all rebar that is protruding from the surface must be covered or capped to avoid any impalement injuries. Where excavations are involved, shoring measures must be taken to avoid potential cave-ins or failures of the excavation walls. Employees at the edge of the excavation 6 feet or more deep must be protected from falling by guardrail systems, fences, barricades, covers, or PFAS. If walkways are used to permit workers to cross over excavations, guardrails are required. If employees are working on roofs with unprotected sides and edges 6 feet or more above lower levels, they must be protected from falling by use of guardrail systems, safety net systems, PFAS, or a combination of a warning line system and guardrail system, warning line system and safety net system, and safety monitoring system. Whenever employees working on, at, above, or near wall openings, including those with chutes attached, where the outside bottom edge of the wall opening is 6 feet or more above lower levels, and the inside bottom edge of the wall opening is less than 39 inches above the walking or working surface, as in the case of a window, employees must be protected from falling by the use of either a guardrail system, a safety net system, or a PFAS. Whenever employees working on, at, above, or near wall openings, including those with chutes attached, where the outside bottom edge of the wall opening is 6 feet or more above lower levels, and the inside bottom edge of the wall opening is less than 39 inches above the walking or working surface, as in the case of a window, employees must be protected from falling by the use of either a guardrail system, a safety net system, or a PFAS. It is important to use good work practices as a policy at all times. Those work practices begin with the employer setting policies with the help of a safety manager or safety consultant. This ensures that all standard operating procedures and safety procedures are adequate. The following basic procedures will help. First, whenever possible, perform work at ground level. For example, if prefabricated materials or sections can be created on the ground and lifted into place, use a crane or some other lifting device. Next, tie or restrain workers in a way that they cannot reach the edge of working or walking surfaces. Finally, use conventional fall protection that is OSHA compliant. It is the responsibility of every employer to provide training to each employee who may be exposed to fall hazards. In construction, this will involve most employees. A competent person must train each employee to recognize the hazards of falling and to follow procedures to minimize these hazards. Specifically, the training must include several key points. It must discuss the nature of fall hazards in the work area and the correct procedures for erecting, maintaining, disassembling, and inspecting the fall protection systems to be used. The training must also cover the use and operation of guardrail systems, personal fall arrest systems, safety net systems, warning line systems, safety monitoring systems, controlled access zones, and other protection. Any limitations on the use of mechanical equipment during the performance of roofing work or low-sloped roofs must be discussed, as well as the correct procedures for the handling and storage of equipment and materials and the erection of overhead protection. Employees must be trained on their role in fall protection plans and the standards of OSHA Subpart M. The employer must verify compliance with the training requirements by preparing and keeping a written certification record for all employees. If there is reason to believe that the trained employee does not have the understanding and skill required, the employer must retrain the employee. OSHA requires employers to provide fall protection systems that meet specific criteria. Walking and working surfaces must have sufficient strength and structural integrity to support employees safely. Employers must provide protection to employees working in areas with unprotected sides or edges 6 feet or more above a lower level. Specific types of protection are required in work areas with leading edges, in hoist areas, in work areas with holes, ramps, runways, and other walkways, in areas where excavations are being conducted or where dangerous equipment is being used, during overhand bricklaying, in roofing, in precast concrete erection, in residential construction, and in work areas with wall openings. Other requirements include the use of toe boards, screens, or guardrail systems, the use of a canopy structure, or the barricading of an area to which objects could fall and prohibiting employees from entrance. Now, let's see if you're still awake. What kind of protection must be in place for an employee working on a rebar from a scaffold that is 8 feet high? A. Guardrail system. B. Safety net system. C. Personal fall arrest system. Or D. Barricade. The correct answer is C. Personal fall arrest system. In the case of scaffolding, it is important to note that employees must be working with a PFAS when working on framework or rebar, and all rebar that is protruding from the surface must be covered or capped to avoid any impalement injuries. Fall protection should never be ignored or taken for granted. Anytime an employee can fall 4 to 6 feet onto a lower level, OSHA requires that employers provide fall protection. Fall protection can come in the forms of guardrail systems, personal fall arrest systems, and safety net systems. Sometimes fall protection plans must be made. These must identify the locations where conventional fall protection methods are not able to be used, and then set up controlled access zones and any needed monitoring systems. We also discussed how different types of hazards require specific protections. Scaffolding, excavation, roofs, and wall openings each have specific requirements to which employers and employees must adhere. Finally, we looked at good work practices and training. Making certain that all employees are properly trained and protected is important to maintaining a safe and productive workplace for all. This module is intended to establish the minimum requirements for the lockout or tagout of energy isolating devices. It must ensure that machines or equipment are isolated from potentially hazardous energy and locked out and tagged out before employees perform any servicing or maintenance. This is done to prevent unexpected energization, startup, or release of stored energy that may cause an injury. 3 types of employees are covered by OSHA's lockout-tagout standard: authorized, affected, and other. The amount and type of training that employees receive depends on their job in relation to the machine that is being locked out or tagged out. Employees who are authorized to execute the actual lockout, tagout of equipment and perform the servicing or maintenance on that equipment must receive training in the recognition of all applicable hazardous energy sources: electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, and chemical, necessary for controlling and isolating the energy source. Authorized employees must possess the knowledge and skills necessary for the safe application, use, and removal for controlling energy of all types. Affected employees, usually the machine operators or users, and all other employees whose work operations may be in the area of the energy controls, need to recognize when the control procedure is being set in motion, but they do not perform the actual lockout or tagout of the systems being worked on or tested. Affected workers need to understand the purpose of the procedure and the importance of not using or starting up any equipment or machines that are locked out or tagged out. Lockout-tagout requirements cover servicing and maintenance of machines and equipment for unexpected energization or startup of machines or equipment, or the release of stored energy that would cause injury to employees. It does not cover construction, agriculture, and maritime equipment, electric utilities, electrical exposure covered by Subart S, oil and gas well drilling and servicing, work on cord and plug connected equipment that is unplugged and under control of employee, and gas, steam, water, or petroleum hot tap operations under certain circumstances. Lockout is the preferred method of isolating machines or equipment from energy sources. All equipment must be locked out or tagged out to protect against accidental or involuntary operation when such operation could cause injury to personnel. Do not attempt to operate any switch, valve, or other energy isolating device when it is locked or tagged out. Use a tagout system only if an isolating device cannot be locked out, or there is demonstration that a tagout system provides full employee protection. Each department must be responsible for the implementation of lockout-tagout procedures. Employees must have training and understand the significance of implementing the procedures. Employees must use the lockout-tagout procedures when working on or near de-energized circuit parts or on equipment where there is a danger of injury because of unexpected energization of the circuit parts or unexpected startup of the equipment. Training must be provided so employees understand the purpose and function of the procedure. Training must include recognition of hazardous energy sources, types and magnitude of energy available, the methods and means for isolation and control, purpose and use of the procedure, other employees whose work is in or may be in an area using lockout-tagout, and instruction about procedure and prohibition concerning starting locked or tagged equipment. When using tagout systems, training must include knowledge of the limitations of tags. Tags are only warning devices and do not provide physical restraint. Essential aspects of tags are to not remove tags without permission of the authorized person using it. Tags must be legible and understandable to be effective. Tags and their means of attachment must withstand the environment. Tags may evoke a false sense of security and must be understood as part of an overall procedure. And tags must be securely attached. Employee retraining is not unusual and is certainly needed in any setting where lockout-tagout techniques are required. There must be retraining with any change in job assignments, change in machines, equipment, or process that presents a new hazard, or a change in energy control procedures. When inspection reveals a need, or whenever the employer sees a need and must reestablish proficiency and introduce new or revised control methods. Implement electrical lockout-tagout procedures in coordination with appropriate procedures for safety isolating other energy systems. Some examples are hydraulic, pneumatic, thermal, process gases and fluids, chemical, and mechanical. This procedure must provide for the isolation of all energy sources that could endanger employees. The locks, tags, and other hardware that are identified and required must be only devices used to lock out or tag out for personnel protection. The locks and tags used for personnel protection must be standardized according to one or more of the following: color, shape, size, type, or format distinctive in appearance, easily recognizable, and clearly visible, designed to convey all information required for the application, designed to deter accidental or unauthorized removal, and designed to withstand environmental conditions for the duration of their application. Locks, tags, chains, wedges, key blocks, adapter pins, self-locking fasteners, and other hardware must be provided by the employer. Lockout-tagout devices must be individually identified and be the only devices used for controlling energy. Do not use these for other purposes. There are certain specific requirements for locks and tags. Let's review these requirements. Locks and tags must be durable. They must be capable of withstanding environmental conditions for the maximum period of use. Constructed and printed so exposure must not cause deterioration of the message on the tag, and tags must not deteriorate when used in a corrosive environment. They also must be substantial. They must prevent removal without excessive force or unusual techniques, such as bolt cutters or cutting tools, and must be substantial enough to prevent inadvertent or accidental removal. They must be non-reusable type, attachable by hand, self-locking, non-releasing with a minimum unlocking strength of less than 50 pounds, and similar to the general design and basic characteristics of being at least equivalent to a one-piece, all-environment tolerant nylon cable tie, and locks and tags must be identifiable. Lockout-tagout devices must have the identity of the employee, and tagout devices must warn against hazardous conditions. Messages must include: do not start, do not open, do not close, do not energize, or do not operate. The employer must document the lockout-tagout procedure. The procedure must contain the requirements to safeguard employees while they are working on or near de-energized circuits, parts, or equipment. Procedures must require pre-planning to determine where and how employees must disconnect electric energy sources to safely de-energize circuits and equipment.